now we're going to go to the winners and losers of the draft, and we're going to take this to me in the totality of the draft. Then, not just the players that they picked in the first round, but who they got in the second round. Now, I will say, winners and losers strongly leans towards the first round picks. Those are the ones you have to get right. But if you can get value, if you can find players that I think are, high upside players that are going to be NHL players, that's a big thing. I'm going to start this one, and then I'll kick it over to you for one, because I know we talked a little bit off air about one of these two teams that, but the team that I have as a real winner from the draft is Montreal, because not only did they come away with Ivan Demidov, they also got Michael Hage later in the first round, and I think they got faster with Hage. He has more size. He has scoring ability. I think he fits the profile of the team that they're trying to build. Demidov's very good. I think beyond that, the rest of their draft was fine. Like, it wasn't earth shattering. I don't think they got guys that are going to be like significantly, massively improving their prospect pool. But those two guys that they got at the top of the draft really do. They had the feel good story of Atos Koivu, who they selected in the third round, which I think was a very fair range for that player. I really like the pick of Logan Sawyer as well, a high upside player. He's going to Providence. He had a great season with the Brooks Bandits this year, which you were able to see throughout the year on FloHockey. And then they went and looked for more size and upside. Guys like Ben Merrill out of St. Sebastian's, Mikis Vegvanegs, who I did not know about, from Latvia, a big goaltender, played for Riga this year. Tyler Thorpe, Owen Protz, Rasmus Bergqvist. They all got guys that are over 6'1". So I thought that in the end, Montreal's draft was won in the first round, but I thought they had a pretty solid day two as well. And Maddie, who do you got on your winners category?
I think it's easy to piggyback on the first round narrative at San Jose, right?
Yeah.
They really stunk last year, and it gave them the privilege to pick a really, really good franchise-changing player. But then at 11, they walked up there with a pretty full board, and Sam Dickinson is awesome from London. 6'3", big, 6'4", 200-pound, left shot D. Those guys don't grow on trees, and he was over a point-a-game player, I think, in the OHL, both in the regular season and close to it in the playoffs. I thought that was great. And then, people seem to really like the Chernyshov pick with the first pick in the second round, that fills another spot, for them. And that's a team that needs to hit it out of the park just because of where they are, organizationally. And they had a great draft last year with Will Smith and Quentin Musty in the first round. But, hard to come away with Celebrini and Dickinson and not say that they were the winner.
Yeah, and you mentioned Chernyshov. That was a guy I had in my first round. He was the best remaining player available that they end up getting him with the first pick of the second round. Leo Solon Wallenius was a guy that I thought was a fringe first round candidate that they got with at 53. Carson Wetch was another guy on my board as a heavy forechecking forward that plays a style that helps you win in the playoffs. And then Colton Roberts was another guy on my list that they selected at 131st overall, a 6'4" defenseman with some offensive upside. Just seems to be starting to scratch the surface with Vancouver. And I just think that San Jose in general, this was a big night for them. This was a big draft, and I think you and I both said it wasn't just about Celebrini. It was about what they did on day two, the number of picks that they had. Yeah,
I think Seattle also knocked it out of the park. I love that Berkeley Catton out of Spokane. I mean, he can fill it up. He scored over 50 this year in the Western League, and then in the second round they took Nathan Villeneuve from Sudbury, who I thought he fell further than I thought he would. That guy can fill it up too. He's a really, really good prospect.
He's got some toughness.
He's tough. Sudbury's tough, man. And another big center down the middle. I thought they did really well. For a group that their American League team's really good. They've got good prospects, but I think they kind of maybe overdrafted or outdrafted some of their existing prospects with their first couple picks in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, getting Catton, that's a more dynamic element than they have, and they couldn't score last year. And so they're like, hey, we need guys that can score. The one thing I will say, and I said this in my piece too, very light on D in their system. Very, very light, like abnormally light. and it's honestly, I think, going to be a problem someday. They did go out and sign Brandon Montour to a long-term contract on free agency day, so that helps. Riker Evans, who's in their system, is a good young player who's done very well in the AHL. But at some point, you have to start drafting defensemen. They just have not drafted many defensemen that I think are going to play in the NHL. And so that's the thing where I couldn't give him my highest grade because of that. But Berkeley Catton was 5th on my board. They take him 8th. I thought for sure they were taking a defenseman, and then I thought they were taking. I think that was fine. Yeah, I did too. And that's the other thing. And the only other thing, like the Sharks, the only thing I didn't like is I would have taken Bouillon over Dickinson. But to your point, what you raised earlier is, can you have a number one defenseman at his size? Is it gonna, it's gonna be interesting to kind of find out how that works out. Now, I will say the Colorado Avalanche had a number one defenseman that was an inch shorter than Zeev Bouillon, and they did win a Stanley Cup. So we'll see where that goes. But you know who Cale Makar is, right?
I've heard of Cale. Heard of him. Sorry.
Just teasing.